Don't tell me what to make. I don't care about your take. It's my channel, and I do what I want. Wah!
All right, we're live.
We're live. And we have the entire crew. So everybody, welcome back to Hobby Vomit. We are doing our final review of Empire of Silence. So if you've seen some of our other book reviews, you've seen this before. We are doing our infamous BARF review, where we're each going to go and we're going to give 4 scores on 4 different aspects of the book. But I'll get to that in just a second. Before I do, I'm Ian. And then you have to remind me about the orientation. So we'll go to my left. With my left with wraparound.
I'm Matt. Hello. Beneath me is
Los?
Yes. It's just a guessing game until I confirm.
What's up? I guessed correctly.
Yeah. All right, and lastly we got
Josh /
Nice.
Jonsey.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. So we've obviously had different mixtures of this crew for some of our videos, just because we've been trying to kind of move through it, and sometimes the timing doesn't work out. But it's really awesome that we finally got everybody together for the final review. Now, this isn't our final review. This is just our final review for Empire of Silence. We're all going to be starting, if we haven't already started, The Lesser Devils. And so we are going to be moving on to a novella after this. And so we're still kind of deciding on the format of that. But typically at the end of every single book, we're going to be doing this kind of BARF review where we give first a spoiler-free set of scores. So that way, for those of you who have maybe not watched our other videos or maybe haven't read Empire of Silence or just curious what our thoughts are, you can kind of check this part out and kind of see what those scores are. We can give you a little pitch as to why you might read it. And then the rest of it's going to be pretty spoiler intensive as we explain why we have those scores and what we liked about this. We also will sometimes talk about how books contribute to a series. This is a series book, but this is the first book, so we won't really be doing too much of that. We'll be mostly just kind of talking about our scores and why we gave them. But yeah, so as far as the BARF review goes, there's going to be 4 different categories. B stands for believable. So how believable are the characters in their particular setting? Do we buy it that these characters exist in this world that's been created for us? And then A is going to be authorial voice, which largely focuses on the world building, the lore, the prose. And then one other aspect that we recently added is the overall goal and how well the author accomplished that goal. This is really our opportunity to talk about the author's craft, and if there's anything in particular about that author's craft that we really appreciated from this book. And then R is going to be for rhythm, so that's going to be the plot structure, the pacing. Do we feel like the overall plot was a little bit too slow? Was it a little bit too fast? So how well did that pacing help the book sort of accomplish its goal? And then lastly, we have F for feeling. Did it leave you with any feels? Did it bring out any tears or frustration? What overall impression did it have on you? Or is there anything that left you thinking about afterwards or that greatly interested you? So sort of what was the overall final impression that the book left you with? And then we kind of rate each of those on a scale of 1 to 5. We average them as a part of our sales pitch or final score, and we can kind of give each a little pitch on why we think the book overall got that score and why we think you may like this book. And we'll just kind of do round robin through each of those and then kind of give our final score at the end. And then we'll be diving straight into spoilers. So yeah. Matt, anything else we need to add?
I think you nailed it.
Nice. I'm getting it down.
Great job.
Just need a few trial books, in the Malazan series. We're getting it.
Yeah, we clocked it. I clocked you in.
Okay.
We're under 5 minutes, and we'd be at like 30 minutes in our Malazan video by now. Just the two, yeah.
Okay, well, if we got nothing else that we need to add, I guess we can go ahead and just jump right into it.
Yeah.
With Be Believable. Who wants to kick us off?
I'll kick us off. So we'll go clockwise. So it'll be myself, then Ian, then Josh, then Los, and then we'll snake it. So next category we'll go opposite. Yeah, exactly.
That's fine with.
Sweet. So believable for me. I gave this a 3 out of 5. I think Hadrian is mostly a pretty fleshed out character, but unfortunately there was just almost 0 side characters that kind of fit the bill for me. So kind of just right down the middle, just a flat 3.
And then for me, I gave it a 3.4, so slightly higher than Matt for the same basic reasons. I do overall think that the characters that we are presented with fit in very well, especially the main character. And I do feel like they kind of define themselves in their own way. I would have liked to see more character development, especially of the side characters. The ones that we do have, we don't really get a whole lot of development, and sometimes they just sort of leave for good. So I would have liked to see a sort of more richer cast, but I do think that the characters you're given do fit the world quite well. And they were interesting. So 3.4. Great, Joshy.
He
Me?
doesn't abide by the 0.25 scale.
No,
Okay.
He's out here with the
Just reading.
0.1s.
no, I
Does
do
what he
have
wants.
to 0.2 scale. 0.2 scale.
I gave Believable a 3 as well. I'm feeling pretty optimistic about our main character, and what he has promised us is the overall ending, and very interested in how he continues to reach that ending. I very much would have loved to, in particular, characters in the first quarter of the book, to have revisited them and got to know them better, and perhaps that will, and I'm very much hoping at least those characters in the first quarter will revisit and see more in the rest of the series. And then I felt like, yeah, the rest of the book, some decent moments here and there with characters, but not enough to appeal stronger to me for a higher score.
All right.
Yeah, and for me, I'm following the train here. I did also give it a 3 as well for Believable. However, there's a slight caveat. A lot of the similar reasons as everybody's already stated. I will say it is a 3 for now, but I will bump it up to a 4 after reading the first, I guess, 5-ish chapters of our next novella review. It really adds a lot of, I guess, perspective.
Okay.
So once
Cool.
once you guys get there, I hope I'm curious of what your guys' thoughts are on. But it is a solid 3 though for this solo book.
Okay.
That's really encouraging, though. So I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's.
Okay.
So we're gonna move on to the A, which
Yeah.
is the authorial voice, the world building appeal, prose, and author goals. So for this, I gave it actually a 4. I really like the way that he describes things, and the way that he has narrated this book in particular. I did not give it a full-on 5 though, mainly because I did read this book after Frank Herbert's Dune, and man, there was so much similarities, and comparatively, it doesn't quite hit that mark, and there's just a ton of I guess influence that I saw in the book, which isn't bad. It's just not up to 5-star BARF review appeal.
Yeah.
I gave it a 4.25. So this was my strongest like of the book. I think if I were to read this on my own and have no influence from my friends here or from YouTube or other avenues, I think this would be what would drive me to continue with the series. I'm not sure any other section that we're grading that if I was just in my own world, didn't know that it was popular and had a dedicated fan base, that I'd continue if it wasn't for my curiosity about the world that he's built up and what's still out there and what's potentially going to continue to be unveiled and described to us. So that part did get me very excited from reading this book.
I gave it 3.8, so I'm kind of up there with Los as well. The main things that stood out for me was, as Los mentioned, it does have a lot of strong Dune references, and for the very first set of chapters, you're going to feel like you're kind of reading Dune. I think it does differentiate itself as you get further through the book. In particular, I think Christopher Ruocchio does a lot of really fun stuff with language, and I really enjoyed the main character's pursuit of language and how that's used throughout the book. And I also think that the sort of religious governmental element in the Chantry is really interesting, and I think could create some really interesting stories. So there are things that really intrigue me about this, and the sort of overall collection of alien races. It's like it's just right in my opinion. It's not so many that it becomes this menagerie, but it's not so few that everything's just bland humans. So I think there was a good balance that struck there.
Nice. Yeah, I think this is the star of the book for me. I'm right between a 3.5 and a 4. I think the world building's great. I think his prose is beautiful. I think the narrative structure is pretty interesting. I don't know if he succeeds fully in that. And then as far as execution of this being a book one to set up for a future series, I'm not fully convinced it succeeded entirely. When I look at other book ones and series of how excited I am to continue, like I think like Josh was saying, had it not have the reputation that it does moving forward, I don't know how excited I'd be to move forward. So I don't know if that's how successful that is as a book one, but I think his prose and his world building specifically are like the star of the book. So yeah, three. I'm gonna go 3.5.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay.
Locked in.
Does our musician want to hit us with the R?
Yeah. So yeah, you heard it live. I didn't have to warm up. It's crazy. So I gave this a 3. I had some problems with the pacing of this book. Notably, I think this feels like 4 beginnings. It feels like 4 starts of 4 books within one. And I feel like I would have felt like that had we not even broken it up. Like he's just almost continually starting over, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I did find it slow the pacing down pretty significantly. And I think with slow pacing, if there's great character work, I don't mind. But I did find the character work a little lacking as well. So I think I felt that pace a little, the pacing problem a little bit more. I think the plot was fine. Like I don't know if there's anything really stand out about the plot. So just kind of again middle of the road. But on the favorable side, it is a 3.
I also rated this 3.2. I think that there is a lot that could have been cut out, especially from the middle. Some of the things that really helped was I actually we broke this up into 4 parts, and so if you go back and watch our videos, or if you have, you know that. And there's not real parts in the book, but the first part where we sort of ended, it actually felt really natural, and I loved that first part. I thought it was really well done. And if the book had continued from there with a very similar pacing, I think I would have liked the book a lot more for its like in terms of rhythm. But I think a lot of it in the middle could have been cut out. But the beginning, the bookends, the beginning and the end, I felt like really helped that score a lot. It felt a lot better at the end than it did in the middle. And so in terms of plot structure, this didn't feel like one of those books where the plot was really strong. And so like Matt said, like character work, I think really helps in those situations. But like I said, I think that the ending was still really neat, and I think the beginning was a really strong beginning. So I gave it a 3.2.
I think you guys said it really well, so I won't add on a bunch of extra rambling. I'll just give my score here. I give it a 2.75.
Okay.
Yep. I agree with everything that was said. It was a 2 for me, actually, for the pacing. I just think some things just came really quickly, and other things just felt like it drug on, and it didn't feel as natural as it did in the very first part of the book, as Ian mentioned. So,
yeah,
I do agree. If it had kept that same first part of the book feel and the pacing in there, setting everything up, it would have felt a lot better as well. So the last one before we do do the average score is feeling. How did it make me feel? I gave this a 3.5. So I was always excited to come back and learn more about the world, basically, whenever I was reading this book. So anything that makes me excited to come back to it, I always enjoy, and I think it's worth my time. So give it a 3.
Okay.
So this is my lowest score, so I gave feeling a 2. Not because I don't feel that it doesn't have like important things that it touches on. I feel like it made me think things. Like I said, with the other categories, enjoyable parts, some things that I struggled with, but Jonsey's just a feeling type of guy with any media that he consumes, and those moments leave the most lasting impressions on me, or in this case, not so lasting of an impression. Again, if it wasn't for how strong my A score was, I think just based on my feelings alone of how it left me feeling, I probably would not continue with the series. But there's so many people that are saying to just keep going and that it's worth it and that it pays off, that I'm willing to trust that. And I'm having a great time with you guys. So I'm looking forward to continuing. But yeah, overall, even if there are things that this book, maybe it pays off later, I don't see myself being excited to reread this book. I see myself watching a recap video and then maybe starting the series on the next book and going from there if I ever reread it in the future.
Okay.
Yeah. And so for feeling, I gave this a 3. Like Lois had mentioned, there were things that were really intriguing that when I went back to read it or listen, I was very interested to find out more. Are these certain elements, but I think overall at the end of it, it was there was elements of the story that I enjoyed and I'm glad that I read, but I don't think that there was any overarching like lesson or feeling or impression this book really left me with. And I had considered giving it a lower score. But I think that like I said, there were things that were still really intriguing. I did find myself enjoying going back to listening to it. And there was, I mean, and maybe I'm being a little bit more generous than I should be in terms of critique, but I also was worried that because I was really familiar with the tropes, that might be taking away for some of the impression for those, like for people who have read a lot of sci-fi or very familiar with like Dune or things like that. I don't think there's really anything that novel in this book that's going to surprise you. And so I was worried that, some of like the twists or revelations didn't really, I kind of already expected them, or they didn't really strike me. There were some surprises, but I think there were a lot of things that were pretty familiar tropes. And so I didn't want to just detract from the book because I was familiar with those tropes.
Yeah. Well, as someone that's not read a lot of sci-fi and has not read Dune, I also was not surprised by a whole lot of this book. So this is my lowest score as well. It is a 2.5 for me. I've never really felt myself emotional. Here, let me say my favorite part of reading this was talking with you guys. And that's really my like driving force to keep going, and the reputation the series has. But like, I think if I just read this book and you asked me in 10 years, I would say I don't think I would ever think about this book again as a standalone without, if I did give up on the series, I don't think I'd ever think about this book again. There's just, other than I'd be like, wow, yeah, I remember he's got really beautiful prose and like the world building was cool. But as far as like, I feel like I should have felt more emotionally attached to Hadrian by the end, or felt something, and I just didn't really feel anything. I felt frustration, but to me, it wasn't intended. I think some may argue it is intentional, but I found myself more frustrated with Hadrian throughout the book, and yeah, so just kind of forgettable. I think that's the biggest offender for me. It's just felt kind of forgettable. So yeah, 2.5. So yeah, let's go over our final scores, the average of that, and then I don't know about you, Ian, but so I normally round up to the nearest 0.25 just to have it clean. But we'll just go normal clockwise again. So my final score is a 3. I think it's perfectly serviceable. On the positive side of right down the middle. I think it shows some promise, but I also think it shows that this is somebody's first book. So I think it's flawed, but I am, if this is the ground level, I'm still excited to continue, but definitely not, not my favorite book or anything. So 3.
Yeah, and like I said, we usually round up. I'm just going to make executive call to just go and say it's a 3.25 for me. So rounding down slightly, but not too much. As far as overall score, I think in terms of a sales pitch for this, I mean, the book has a strong reputation. If this was just a standalone, then I would say that this is a great first sci-fi book. Like for example, if you've read Dune and kind of want something with a similar flavor, you're looking for an easy sci-fi book, I think this is great. With the rotation it has, I'm certainly encouraged and hopeful for, again, like I said, this is ground floor, like what we're going to see. I think this is something to build on top of. And with the reputation, I trust that this will continue to improve as we continue to read, and I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, I think overall, there are certainly better sci-fi books out there, but I think that there's definitely potential here too. So yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, my math may not be math and fully, but I landed with a 3. Yeah, I think I can't remember what you said exactly, Matt, but yeah, it's just not leaving a lasting impression on me. And I know I'm in particular saying some negative things, but I did have some moments that I really enjoyed. But yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. It just didn't leave any lasting impressions when I look at books. And I'm not trying to compare it to books that I think are my favorite, but just other books in general. Yeah, I think that was the perfect example. I'm not going to really think or be excited about anything reflecting on this book 10 years from now.
I just want to, sorry, real quick before you go, Les. I just want to say, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Josh. Like a 3 is not bad. I know 3. Some people will go onto like Goodreads and they'll see a 3 and they're like, "Oh, that book's garbage," and it's not. It's not. It's
Or an
very
item you buy on
readable.
Amazon.
It is success. Yeah, like it's a super readable book. 3 is a good score. It's just not great. I think 4 would be like a great for me. That I'm like really excited and I want to share it. And 5 is like I can't stop talking about it. It's like one of my favorites. So 3 is still good. So yeah, I just want to make sure people aren't. It's hard to, the ratings are so skewed now. I think it is hard to see a 3 and be like, oh, that's good. But I do think, yeah, like you said, Ian, I think it's, I don't see any reason why someone shouldn't try this book. I think everyone should try it.
So some of your fans do not need to call the chantry on us. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Sorry to jump in there, Les, but
No, you're good. You're good. I just I average is a 3 as well. The only thing I have to add would be I guess comparing it immediately after reading something that I thought was just absolutely incredible, and just like Matt was talking about, something that you can't stop talking about. That's really what it is, and really what brought this book down was just the pacing. And sometimes you just like to read books for entertainment. You don't have to get a new life moral like or code or anything like that when you're reading a book or when you're just consuming entertainment. And that's what this book is to me. Like it's kind of like I like this genre. I like learning and immersing myself in a new world and learning about that world. And that's just sometimes it doesn't leave a lasting impression. That's completely fine with me. I'm very easily entertained. So I guess mine would be a slightly higher, but I like this book. So
awesome. Well, cool. Does anyone have any other just final thoughts before we move into, or final spoiler-free thoughts, or are we ready to jump into spoilers?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool.
Let's do it. Okay, so it's a warning.
Sorry,
Fair warning.
I do want to say.
Watching. Yeah,
I do want to say one thing. Just that I think in case this is where you're hopping off, we are continuing. We're reading The Lesser Devil next. We'll be doing a discussion video for that, and maybe a separate BARF review. We're gonna have to figure that out. At least a discussion video. And I think for this series, it's gonna kind of be after every volume or whatever, we will decide if we will, if we all vote we don't want to continue, we won't. For now, we are though. So you can be on the lookout for Lesser Devil if you're jumping off at spoilers at the spoiler part. But if not, then we're here. Welcome to the spoiler section of the video.
everybody dies.
Everybody died. It was crazy.
In their dreams.
Yeah, it was all a dream the whole time, exactly. And also they're in purgatory. It's crazy.
Yeah. Just Hadrian wakes up at the end. In fact, it was just all a dream while he's in cryo. That was the whole.
That would be some rage shit. Like if after 7 books, that's how he ends it. He just wakes up to the homunculus like making fun of his pee-pee again. He's like, God damn it.
I am very annoyed that we did not find out about what happened on with that ship.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm very annoyed.
That was one of the things that impacted my score for believable. It's just it was really, I mean, because we have these side characters that are kind of plopping in and out and they're not being developed. So it really makes it hard to like understand the context of the world from the side characters when you don't really get to spend a lot of time with them. And like the side characters you spend the most time with are like Myrmidons, right, in the gladiatorial arena, which doesn't necessarily like help you out with learning more about this grand galactic empire and world of sci-fi and things like that. And the the captain, like in the being this mercenary captain and pirate slash smuggler, I mean that seemed like a really cool way to learn more. And then we were just left with more questions than answers after Hadrian just sort of mysteriously gets. I mean, we don't know anything about what happened other than like it took 3 times as long for Hadrian to wake up for whatever reason. We still, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I don't know if that really bothers me as far as like my believable score, because I think I think a walk through life, you are going to run into people that you meet once, and like that is, to me, that is something that is believable. I felt like they were at least fleshed out enough to where I think the problem for me is they were fleshed out enough to where I was excited to learn more, and then he took that away from me. And again, I think that can happen, but then he kept doing that over and over and over again, and it's just like we're so close to having all these interesting characters, but instead of instead of us focusing in on maybe just a couple interesting side characters, you gave me like 20 that were on the cusp, but none of them crossed that into like I know you. Even like Valka, who I think is maybe arguably the second, the character with the second most page time. I don't really feel like I know Valka that much after the amount of time I've spent with her. At least not to the level that I think I should. So I think that's really the thing. It's just it was right there for a lot of characters, but they felt real in their world. I just don't know any of them. And so I think that's really where it hurt me.
I think it's a really hard to I guess get a grasp of these characters when the narration is only from the viewpoint of Hadrian. And it's very difficult to, and that's why in the next one it's a breath of fresh air because it's not Hadrian like being the narrator. So it's very difficult, especially I guess he had this entire series planned out like in his head beforehand or something, and we're just seeing like little tastes of them first. If what you guys are telling is true, that the whole series and as a whole is pretty revered, then I expect to see a lot more of especially the people that we're leaving the ship with here at the end.
Yeah,
the Myrmidons. A lot of the Myrmidons are on there. So
yeah, he start the next book. Just he wakes up 70 years later.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like,
They cryoed him again.
I think kind of speaking to what you're saying, Los, I think I could be on board with that, except for the fact that he chose a storytelling technique of this is Hadrian at the end of his life or whatever, telling us what happened. So he knows exactly who Valka is. And so it's like him telling his tale, but intentionally withholding information from us. That's the part where there's just a big disconnect for me. If we were just following Hadrian in his life, we didn't have the narrator butting in, then I could believe that Hadrian didn't spend enough time with these people to know who they were or something like that. But then sometimes he'll come in and be like with Basander Lin, he's like, oh yeah, he betrays us at some point. He knows exactly what happens. He's lived it. But he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you about that yet. And so then it's just a character like I don't really care about, except for I'm like, all right, well, at some point, I guess I'm going to. So I think it's like a cool storytelling technique, but I think it almost like it's like it damns him a little bit. Of I'm just going to be like, well, why wouldn't he? It's like you're on your deathbed. You don't know. I'm assuming, I can't remember. He might not say. It may not have said that, but he's in jail, right, at the end or at the beginning. Isn't he like jailed or is he just like about to die or something? Or is he just at the end?
Yeah, I don't remember. I do vaguely remember something about him stating people's opinions of his actions in the past, but I don't know about prison or anything.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember if he like what his attitude was. Like, I'm writing this down, but like no one's gonna see it anyways. Like, or like I'm gonna be executed wrongfully. I need to write this down so someone knows my story. I couldn't really remember because it's so fast in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm trying to check because I remember him recounting, but I don't remember if he says like what state he's in while he's recounting it.
Yeah. Which I think is probably for me that's important context, because if it is like if you're about to be, if you're jailed and you're about to be executed, you wouldn't be like, I need to chronicle my life, but I'm going to intentionally withhold information from the reader because suspense. You know what I mean? Like I would find that hard to believe. You'd be like, I need to say what happens in case they come right now and take me. I'm going to, reveal that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't see anything about like prison. I didn't remember anything about prison or being on his deathbed. I mean, the main things that stood out and the main things that I see was just his overall impression when he's writing this is he even starts off with like, I don't expect anybody to ever read this. And then he sort of ends that monologue with just saying, "But if you do, I want you, and you want, and you're reading this because you want to be able to walk in my shoes. You want to know what it was like to be the person who ate the sun, right? Then first you need to understand this, that where I began is here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He says, I do not doubt that this tome will do aught but collect dust in the archive where I have left it. But perhaps you will read on, tempted by the thought of reading the work of so great a monster as the one made in my image. You will not let me be forgotten because you want to know what it is." So yeah, I guess, are we as a tome?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think it's just like an account. So yeah, I mean, I guess we know the world's not, or the universe isn't ending in some way. It seems like this is maybe just the end of his life, and maybe just maybe it's like a whatever Lord of the Rings thing, where he's like riding his tail at the end of his life because he's so old. Doesn't that happen in Lord of the Rings? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's what Bilbo does.
Yeah, that's
He
what
writes the
Bilbo
Tale of
does,
the
so,
Hobbit,
yeah.
which is his story. Yeah.
Maybe it's that. But yeah, I think it's just a really hard storytelling technique when and I think he mostly succeeds. It's just sometimes like, yeah, it's especially like the Basanderland thing. That's the biggest one. He's like, by the way, reader, he's gonna betray me at some point. And it's just like, that's not like a walk through your shoes. That's you telling me. That's you like telling me that something's gonna happen, so that suspense is created. So that I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now I'm just waiting for it, which is fine. Suspense is great. Stephen King does it all the time. The classic, like, Joe Bob put on his glasses that morning for the last time, and you're like, what do you mean for the last time? When's he gonna, But it's not
Always.
From Joe Bob's perspective in the future, and just being like, I'm not gonna tell you, cause. So I don't know. I think it's a tough structure, and I think that's really honestly what hurts the believable part for me so much is I just, it feels like information's being withheld for the sake of it being withheld sometimes.
Yeah.
But he gets to put a little asterisk there whenever he wants, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way sometimes. But I don't really know what category that goes into as far as I'm assuming, I guess, authorial voice a little bit, which is kind of why.
Narration style, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I kind of go back and forth because I think that if we consider like oral storytelling or even like written storytelling, like when people tell stories, they naturally omit details to like bring them up later. If this was like a more natural storytelling, because I don't view this as being like a true autobiography in the sense that he's just trying to like diligently and thoroughly write every detail of what happened, but rather he's in a framed narrative. He's the monster who's framing a narrative for how he wants people to see him, right? And so he's telling the story that he wants people to read. So it's naturally going to have details that are omitted. It's naturally going to leave things for later. I do agree, though, that because of the mixed narrative, with sometimes we get these interesting details with a few characters, and sometimes they're important, and sometimes they don't seem important. I think that it can come off like the character's role makes them more important than they feel. Because isn't Basander Lin the one who gives him the lightsaber? Not lightsaber. Who was
No,
the one who gives him?
that's I got the. Let's see.
Yeah, no, that was the
Mhm.
other night. The night
Yeah.
that he like it's
Oh,
like
Lauren.
Lauren,
yeah,
yeah. And
Lauren.
so, and it was like, but yeah, but Sandalin at the dinner, and so it's like
Mhm.
because there's this interesting dinner conversation, and because of this framing, it's like making the character seem like they have this mechanical significance because of suspense, but then they don't really have another role to play in this
Barely
particular
in it.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have other characters that like they give Lauren gives us the lightsaber, so it's like that has a significance, but like why is that character so significant? We only had a few moments with that character.
I've got
So
huge
sometimes
issue
it
with
can
that
happen.
part.
Yeah.
Hadrian did not earn that lightsaber, in my opinion. Like that's like a coveted laser sword that like only the best of the best have them, and he's a super successful fighter, and like he just gives one of his
I
swords to
just
Hadrian.
I disagree.
You think?
In this,
Okay, yeah.
in this
Let's.
case.
So
Mainly because this is the first time that anybody has actually attempted to make like actual peace with these guys, like not kill them on sight just because the transcript says demolish them all, like they must be
Mhm.
wiped or purged. And this is the first, as far as I know, the first successful one. Like, yes, they've taken them prisoner before, but they haven't, made no attempts to actual like peace. Like Hadrian made it very apparent that hey, we should
Yeah,
attempt this.
I think it's because of the theme of language and violence in the book that Hadrian's portraying. So I think that's where I landed with why they gave it to him is he's approaching things differently, and yeah, they're kind of like honoring and rewarding it from that perspective, other than just like a classical like you obtained glory from being a great warrior and things like that.
I think on paper all that makes sense. I just don't know if the book convinced me that Basander and Hadrian spent enough time together where he would trust that Hadrian's doing things for the right reason. I think I think they have one conversation together ever inside the apartment with Falca. He like shows up with the drinks. So it's like you have one conversation with a guy, and that's enough to give to. And it may say it in the book, but to me, I kind of wonder like, why wouldn't he just go with them? And then, was there a reason that he's not going with them? He may have said why he can't go.
As far as I know, it's just because he's the second in command for. I'm forgetting the name of who he
group.
follows.
Lady
Yeah.
Kilama.
But yeah, he's like second in command.
Yeah, but this is like an important mission, right? If it's so important that you're willing to give up that, and there's more people of I can't remember what they're called, the swordsmen, but there
The
are
knights
more.
of the whatever.
Yeah, there are more of them.
Mhm.
But if this is such an important mission that you're willing to give over like a really important sword, it's like a Jedi giving up their lightsaber to someone they just met and had a conversation with once. Even if they do have good intentions, we know as a reader Hadrian has good intentions, but I just never. I don't know if I ever bought that Basander.
I
Or sorry, not
wonder.
Basander.
It also
Lauren,
leaves me wondering if he's up to something malicious. Like maybe he's setting him up some way by giving it to him that it sends the wrong message. Well, to Hadrian's point of view, it's going to end up sending the wrong message that maybe this person that gave it to him is intending it. I'm just wondering if maybe there's something more malicious going on there.
Yeah,
That might explain
Yeah.
why he just kind of handed it over.
Yeah. There is
Could
a
be.
lot of those occurrences, though, in this book. I found at least of characters making assumptions or jumping to conclusions that I understand as the reader because I've been following Hadrian and things that he does. But all these people that haven't seen any of those and aren't in Hadrian's head, I don't know how they kind of reach those same conclusions as me, other than they need to further the plot.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I would say that at least there's some other things to consider too with the character. It wasn't just once. I think there was at least 3 times they had significant interactions, possibly 4 if he's one of the characters that's on the ship when Hadrian is trying to convince them that he should be able to go on the mission, which I think he is. But I believe he's on the ship when Hadrian is trying to actually convince them to let him go into the ruins. He was a part of the group that was in the ruins. That's actually the first time we get to see the sword used because it cuts the worm. And so he was there when Hadrian actually convinced them to surrender. We see him
But after
we see him
torturing
at the
them.
well, but they were separated at that point. He didn't know that. I don't think he was there when Hadrian tortured the guy, was he?
I,
'Cause I
I
thought they
thought it was
separated the
right after
groups.
the worm part. He tortured the one to tell him where the others were. With like
Yeah,
the
that might
stun
be the
gun.
case. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, at the same time, that's also like that is what gave them the information, right? And he didn't kill the guy, as we learned later. He was worried that he did, but he didn't. I mean, so it gave them the information, and because he spoke their language, he could actually do that. So I mean, like it is gruesome, but it did also help them succeed. So from their perspective, they may not see it as gruesomely. And then yeah, they had the conversation where he came in and they shared drinks, and then we also had dinner conversations, and then we had a conversation I think near the end, and then ultimately when he gives them the lightsaber. But I think there's definitely an argument that it could be the case that Hadrian has accomplished something. It could also be the case that because they all know that Hadrian killed the final Cielson, and as my impression of Laurent was that he did not lie. I mean, he did not approve of the torture. And so there could be an element there of like this sort of communal understanding that, or you might say like this sort of camaraderie that transcends species of like there's this understanding that that was wrong and that although this person could not escape, the Celestine could not escape, that mercy was necessary, at least in this case of mercy killing is necessary to spare him further torture. And so there could be some, recognition that Adrian did something that was very hard, in the sort of side of maturity.
Yeah.
Even though we know it kind of went down differently. Right.
It could
I
just
don't know.
be,
That
yeah.
just
Honestly, it probably, I think what it might be is that there's like this outside bias for me because I think I view them as lightsabers. I think they act like a lightsaber in the book, but I think, when I think of lightsabers that Jedis have, they're very personal. But I guess in this book, in theory, I don't know if we ever learned that they're that personal to them as as a person, to where like maybe he's just handing one off and he's just gonna go get another one back home,
Mhm.
and that's that.
Yeah.
Which
that's
makes
the
more
case,
sense
yeah.
if that is the case. I think I was reading it as like this is one of his two, relics that are his and personal to him, and he's giving that up.
I still think it's important. I agree. It's kind of personal, like what
Okay.
you're saying. But I also think that maybe Christopher, what is it? How do you say Ruocchio?
Ruocchio, yeah.
Mhm.
Christopher Ruocchio might be using like another like literary what is it? Metaphor? Like this is kind of like what if the knight is seeing him as like an Arthurian kind of figure,
Mhm.
and he's putting himself in like the Nineveh role or the Lady of the Lakes role of
Mhm.
giving Arthur a sword like
Yeah.
Excalibur or whatever, right? So
Mhm.
he could be like, hey, I want
Mhm.
this to be part of this story. And I actually believe like, what you're about to do is going to be of importance, and I want to be part of it. So I'm going to give you this sword, and hopefully it'll be legendary.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but having a watery tart throw a sword at you is no basis for a system of government, Los. So
A what?
Does anyone remember what the sword is called?
it's
Like
from Holy Grail.
what type of weapon it's called?
It's like a
I wanted to see if I could look at
Was
it.
it
It's a
in
high
this.
matter. It's a high
Oh,
matter
yeah.
energy. It's a high matter sword, or is
particle
it
beam or something.
High matter sword. Yeah.
Just a high matter sword.
Okay, so high matter in the back of the book says a form of exotic matter produced by alchemists used to make the swords of imperial knights, which can cut almost anything.
Yep.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, it muted you.
lost your audio.
Saber. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I don't know if you heard that part.
We
I was
heard
just reading.
that it can cut anything.
Yeah. So all I was saying
Can even
is
cut you off.
oh wow.
it can even cut through
Cut
dimensions.
me off through
Cut the
internet.
fourth
Yeah.
wall. Or-
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting. So it does give vibes that it's like as powerful as a lightsaber, but maybe not as sacred and personal like you're mentioning, Matt, which I think is a really interesting thing to think through.
Yeah, I think
Because it says swords of Imperial Knights, but how rare or exclusive is that group?
Yeah. I mean, I think I maybe land kind of in between where, like, obviously I think these are his swords that he's had probably forever since he became a knight. So there's going to be personal attachment. But when I think of Star Wars, like if someone passes on their lightsaber to someone, it's like, this is your, like I'm curious, I guess, going forward, will Hadrian kind of view this as, oh, Lauren's, passed down relic, or is it just like a sword to him?
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how he thinks about it.
I mean, it's on the cover of the book, so
Yeah, it is an interesting cover of the book. So those, yes, yeah. So what is that, a Cielson armor? Because I thought the Cielsons had the armor where it's just like a blank face.
This looks more like a Myrmidon armor, almost like Imperial gladiatorial armor in a way.
Mm.
yeah,
This
that
is
middle
Imperial
part
armor.
gives me that type of vibe.
Mhm.
Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. Someone specifically had the face mask that was just kind of like a blank metallic face mask. I just couldn't remember who it was.
I mean, there's been a few kind of described that way, but not the Cielson. The Cielson have like almost like clunky, like nautical masks in a way, because theirs was kind of outdated.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
They had
I
that
think
one of the
you're
ones.
thinking of the penitents. Is it penitents or something with a P? I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
They're like the personal guards of the lords, like the higher up people. They have
okay.
that
Yeah.
that you're talking
And
about.
and then the weird homunculi that follows the army around too. They have kind of is flat, like sort of just blank mass as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's what this is, of course. I mean, this
Peltas.
like
Peltas.
Peltas, yeah. I mean, this kind of armor like sort of reeks of nobility, but the design is like kind of something that you would see in a gladiatorial arena.
So do we think
What
that
was it called,
that
Los?
is Hadrian?
I mean, I assume
Or
so.
it's just
but I
like-
could be wrong.
Yeah, it's a badass looking cover. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
very like recognizable cover, but I don't know if by the end I was like, oh, that's the that's
Yeah.
the cover.
This is clearly Christopher Ruocchio, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
That even
Exactly.
says so
And
right
like,
here.
what's the
Yeah.
hand reaching up to the
Yeah, I mean,
grabbing the
it's-
lightsaber?
It says a couple of things to me. Not that this is what it actually is, but I think back to the first part of the book when he walks out of, is it the Colosseo? Is that how you say it?
I think they call it
when
the
he was-
Colosso.
Colosso, sorry.
Mhm.
Get it right.
I know. He's supposed to be there, like representing like his father, right? Like in his
Yep.
place. It was like an assignment, and so like
Mhm.
him walking out, and then the third part, he joins the Myrmidon or the gladiators on Emesh, right?
Mhm.
And so it kind of is like, to me, it's that interesting, like he was trying to get away from it, but now he's like voluntarily gone into it
Mhm.
as a form of escape on Emesh. And then I feel like the hand reaching up is supposed to be this like dramatic, like depiction of, I feel like people are always going to be reaching out to him for help, and he just inadvertently is going to be striking them down for one reason or another.
Mhm.
It is interesting art in the sense of like, I agree. I think it's almost like art to be interpreted, like actual art that you find in like a museum or something, which is I don't normally see that on books where it's like I can actually interpret this as something, because that's not a scene in the book. It just isn't. Unless I very much missed it.
I think what you said makes a lot of sense, because if we're reading this or it's a tome, then you kind of made me think like, oh, like this is like some painting that someone commissioned of how they perceived Hadrian.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
What he means to the universe instead of like how he perceives himself.
Yeah, like we've actually picked up the tome. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think we could talk a lot more characters. Does anyone have? I want to know who's everyone's favorite character that was not Valka or Hadrian. Because I think it would probably be them if we went just favorite character. Maybe not. But actually, you know
I
what?
think that's
Fine.
a good question.
If I were to ask who your favorite character, would anyone not have?
You set the
Hadrian or
rules.
Valka?
We're gonna follow the rules.
All right, let's follow the rules. They're in stone now. Yeah. Do you wanna kick us off?
Sure. So not my favorite in the sense that I like them, but I'm really, really curious to see if we explore more. I'm forgetting his dad's name right now. But
I don't
Lord
yeah,
Alistair.
Oh,
Lord Alistair, thank you. So yeah, I guess it falls into that like tropey sci-fi book. Like it feels like not always, but most of the time, like some person's father is like the troublesome, evil-looking one. But I mentioned this on the previous videos. I always thought it was interesting throughout the book, Hadrian mentioning that he always found himself in moments where he had to lean back on things that his father taught him, no matter how much he did not like that relationship. He was kind of thrust into this world, and found that those skills were useful. So I just find he was probably my most intriguing one that I wanted to be more with. And then as Tor Gibson was his mentor, right?
mm-hmm.
I think those two were the most interesting to me. That yeah, I would have enjoyed spending even more time with those guys.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think the dad is just like the rest of the beginning of the book. He's just a strong character that if I had to put money on it, I would guess that he's gonna be back through something. Maybe not like in the story, but just he'll always be with Hadrian in that way. Like we will continue to hear his name because of those lessons, or because he starts to become his father more and more, even if he doesn't want to. So yeah, I think he's a great character.
I think, sorry, just real
Yeah.
quick on him too. Another thing that fascinates me is I just kind of reminded myself that Lord Alistair and Hadrian's family, they're wealthy, but they're still like a very minor, like noble family in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, I'm curious if maybe that will come into play a little bit more on Hadrian's journey, and if that's anything of important. But I thought that was another really cool part of the beginning of the book is like we're jumping into this person and his family story, but really like apparently they're kind of small potatoes compared to some other folks out there.
Right. I think
Except
it
for their
definitely will come out
genes.
because, yeah, exactly. Because there's a paradox, right?
Mm.
They're small potatoes, but yet they have genes that are uncharacteristically similar to the emperor.
Yeah.
Um,
And the count on Amesh, that's why he wanted him to
mhm,
marry his daughter, right? So he was trying to
mhm.
cash in on those genetics.
Yep, exactly. Yep, he wanted her to get into those genes.
More ways than one. Yeah.
Got him.
Got him.
Sorry.
No, I really like that, Josh. That's a great one. I like Lord Alistair Marlowe as well. Just his father is the one that basically disgraced his entire family, and kind of like put them to ruin, and it was up to him to like pick up the pieces and try and build the Marlowe name back up. And I think he's done that pretty effectively. And it is curious. Mine is also related to um, Lord Alistair and oh man, what is his name? The main character, Hadrian. His mom, actually, the daughter of the viceroy. So it's the one character that actually seemed like she cared about his, other than Tor Gibson and maybe some of his other tutors like Felix and stuff like that. But um, he didn't think that she cared as much as she really did, and she's the reason why he's even doing anything that he remotely wants to do right now. So I hopefully we get to see a little bit more of his mom in there.
Yeah. Such contrasting characters too, to be his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked his mom. I would like to see I feel like if there were characters, because my favorite character we probably won't be seeing more of, but I would say the mom. Well, you see why the mom I think is probably close to the top of the list of characters I would like to see more of going in the future. I would be very happy to see more of his mom. But yeah, I'll just go into why we won't be seeing more of my favorite characters. It's pretty close between two, and they're both dead now. I loved Gilliam Voss. I thought he was a great little mini villain that had some depth. You know, and you can almost tie the two Vosses together as like a unit because the death of one, it means so much probably going forward to the mom. But he was just a good antagonist that I don't know, my picture of him changed a lot at the end. My idea of him changed a lot at the end because like his final words were in warning to the kids that he cared about. You know, I think he probably was not bullied, but just hated his whole life. I don't know. I think that like he chose those as his final words. I think that showed some character for him. So I just that showed a lot of depth in that moment. And the other one's Kat. I really liked Kat, other than the romantic part of it. But I think Hadrian wouldn't really be. I think Hadrian's journey stops unless he finds Kat. I don't think he continues on in the way that he did and what he learned through Kat. I just thought she was a great character. Important death for sure. I'm glad she died. I'm wishing she would have continued on. I think it was an important death for Hadrian, but I thought she was written really pretty well actually.
Yeah.
So those are probably my two favorite.
Good a really great depiction of the different cultures and the simple things of like, oh, your name's Kat. What's that short for? And it was like, nothing. It's just Kat.
Yeah, it's just Kat. Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have kind of touched on a lot of the characters that really stood out to me. I'll go ahead and mention just one character I hope that we do get to see again. I don't know if we will, but I really did enjoy Sir Elomas in the last parts of the book. I thought he was a really fun character. I think there's a lot of potential for us to see more of that character.
Who was it? I'm sorry, what? Who?
Sir Elomas, the one who was funding the expedition.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, but I just, he's just sort of this retired old knight with a lot of experience who's just like bored and rich. And he was a fun character, a very generous character. But he just still has this like sense of adventure, even though he's kind of too old to put himself in danger. But I think there was a connection there. Like, I think he has a lot of appreciation for Hadrian and the position that Hadrian's in. And they share a lot of similar backgrounds in terms of the Colosseum and things like that. So, I think we could see him again, and I would be very interested to see his character to be developed more, because I think that Hadrian does have a lack of good father figures, and I think Sir Elon Musk could be a very interesting character to teach Hadrian things, and so I would like to see more of him. If we don't, then it's unfortunately just another old guy we don't get to see more of, which would make like 3 or 4 at this point. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Christopher Ruocchio just doesn't really like old guys very much. Crow. I don't know. Yeah, Old Crow. Like, you God.
Name dropping Old Crow, and then we never see him again.
How old are you again, Gibson? Too old. Out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
and let's torture you.
Yeah. I think kind of speaking to Elomas, I think I'm at the point now where I don't think we see him again. But as far as like being a father figure, man, I feel like it's just right pickings for Bassander Lynn to become that person, especially with us knowing that he's going to betray him, to teach him a lot, and for them to get close so the betrayal actually hurts. I think that they are going to become very close. Because he's the only other character, I think, that Hadrian butts in as the narrator to say, hey, this is an important character. It was him and Valka. I think. There may have been more, but those are the two I remember of him being like, remember this character. He's going to betray me. So it would make sense for Ruocchio to make us really, really like Bassander Lynn. And I really hope that when he does betray him, I love a good villain. I love a good villain that is like fighting for what they believe is good. And I hope it's not just like a, I've been stringing you along for books. And it was all part of the plan because I'm evil. I hope it's for some
Yeah.
good reason that he, or at least that he believes is good, and it is like
Yeah.
a betrayal he doesn't want to make but has to. I think that could really hit emotionally and kind of bring up that emotional connection for me of like, I hate that it's coming. I hate that I know it's coming, and it's going to be awful when it does, but also it's going to be a great moment I remember because of that.
Or
Mhm.
maybe he's just branded as a traitor to the general populace because he's been calling himself names, right?
I can't.
Like he's been called.
So yeah, go ahead. I
Yeah,
don't
no, I'm just
remember.
saying like the narrator's been calling himself like people have
Oh.
called me blah blah blah, the guy who whatever, and like
Yeah.
to different factions. Maybe like the general populace believes he's a traitor for what he did on with Hadrian, but
Or maybe,
in reality, Hadrian doesn't regard him as that.
yeah. Or to me, it could also be the opposite because Hadrian, it seems like, is regarded as he himself is like the bad guy because he sides with the Cielson, and so maybe Vasander Lim is just a good guy to the Chantry and to the general population, but to Hadrian, his cause, and what we know to be probably good, is a traitor. I'm excited for that relationship to hopefully blossom in the next book, and just with we're scaling way down from a large cast. We're on we're planet side with a ton of people into a ship with like 7 or 8 named characters, and I think some other like soldier people as well, but really only like 6 or 7 that we know of. So I hope that we kind of get to really see some relationships blossom and get some good character work in there. But that's kind of speaking to the next book. But any other character moments we want to talk about?
I didn't even kick him as well. I was just saying with Pisander, I mean, I think there's still a lot of opportunity for how that betrayal goes, because it could just be that he wants to stay with the Empire. It could be that he kills Valka or puts her in a position where he stops Hadrian from saving her life because it would put them both in danger. That could be a thing that happens. He could go against him to save Cielson or something like that. Like I think there's a lot of different ways that this could go, and so I think that's what makes it really cool. Was there's still a lot of mystery surrounding this important event, and I think it is really easy to just say, okay, because we know he's going to portray him, he's a bad guy, but it can certainly get a lot more nuanced and complicated.
I think it will.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't have any more things on characters, and so I did have a segue into something else I wanted to talk about, if that's okay with you guys.
Can I ask one more question with characters?
Yeah, for sure.
More of a prediction going forward. Do we think Valka and Hadrian get together? No from Ian?
I think we're going to edge this out for 8 more books.
So, but do you think because it kind of gave us the impression that like on the beach they kind of settled that almost. Like there was like a mutual agreement of like, even though maybe they want to, they need to not. But is it actually put to bed, or is it going to be a will they, won't they, in Edgefest?
I don't know. I'm worried there's going to be a will they, won't they. My hope is that it's just friendship moving forward. So that's my hope. But,
honestly,
the amount of time spent on the build up, I just don't think that's friendship. Is a pipe dream, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be like a will they, won't they kind of thing, which unfortunately is going to happen through multiple books, or something's going to happen to Valka.
The amount of time she's going to brush his hand, he's going to go into a 10-page monologue about it.
I don't think it will happen with them. My prediction / feelings I get from Hadrian is that's not going to be something that he finds in life. I think it's just something that's going to evade him always.
I think by the end of the book, or by the end of the series, I agree. I think he will be alone. But I kind of in the camp of like, I don't really care. I just hope they do or they don't, and we decide quickly. It's just it's the will they, won't they that's just, it gets tiresome. But like, I don't mind a romantic relationship. They clearly have chemistry. They could learn a lot from each other as people. That wouldn't bother me, and it kind of it would push past that trope of the will they, won't they. Like, let's just get a relationship. I'm okay. You know, he's a human. Humans have relationships, especially with someone that, yeah, like I said, there's clear chemistry there. It makes sense. So I would be okay with it. But I'm also okay with, you know, if they, like adults, settle like that, you know, we are on an important mission. There are more important things right now than this. Let's put it to the side. But then I would hope that the narrators, you know, that's the other thing. It's like this dude's old writing, and then he's, you know, he goes into such detail about his feelings for Valka every time they're near. It's like I get that you felt that way as a kid, as a young man. Like, I can understand that, but like, you are taking the time to write this down to me, the reader, of like, my heart blossomed like a flower, like I had never smelled spring roses before. And it's like,
or
bro,
whenever he walked in.
it's like, bro, she farted.
Her.
Like, like, it's
My
okay.
heart dropped.
So you said more books of this. I think Matt's gonna destroy his son. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. I don't, you know, I don't mind romance. It's just the will they, won't they. It's like, make up your mind, please. I don't want it for
It's
books.
It's just a very small part of his life, though. Like, comparatively, like, she is going to be in such a small portion of his actual life that,
Is he that? Is she
to
that?
me, it doesn't make sense. Maybe he's just remembering this like nostalgic,
I'm pretty sure one of the first lines we get from him about her is that like they're gonna be around each other a lot.
Yeah, I thought
of
that he
his
said
life,
that as
something
well.
like that.
Like, she's in and out constantly.
What for 7? She's not a Palatine. Like, so to me, it doesn't make sense that she would live past a certain age.
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. But
Like,
I think
I
like
gotcha.
she will be, the way I imagine this story is going to be like, this is going to be just the chunk of his life that matters. I don't think he'll age out over her in this story. I think the story will end and then we'll jump forward to him like telling that, you know, the important part of his story. Same with like Bilbo. Like, I don't think Bilbo, you know, when we see Bilbo writing his story, he hasn't just like walked, you know, he's not like walking in the door and now writing it. He's like reflecting back on like the important part of his life. So yeah, I would be surprised if she's not in more than half the books, personally. But
I was now I don't know how much this is expanded upon, so I would be curious, but as far as I know with the books, like with the Empire Silence so far, is we know that humans like can live for much longer because of the genetic lines from the Emperor. But also we know that a lot of the genes have been messed with because that's the way that the Chantry and the government stay in control. So I don't know that it's fair for us to assume that people outside the Chantry's control would live normal lifespans, since technically they like her. She used to have Rosie. Her line are completely like the Chantry have no control over their genes. So I don't know if it's fair for us to say that they're going to live a normal human life cycle. We also don't know too for how long. We know how long Hadrian's been around, but we don't know how much of that is him in cryo as well.
She
Or
could
how
also
much of
go
that
into
she might
cryo.
be in cryo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another thing is I think in terms of time, it's going to be really hard just to say because there's a character at this point in time that they can't be at a later point in time.
Yeah, cryo could
So.
mess with everything.
Yeah, they could spend too much time around a black hole. You know, who knows what could
Yeah,
happen
no,
there.
those are great points. Those are great
Mhm.
points.
So I'm having some. Is anyone else having any connectivity
Yeah,
issues?
yeah, no,
Yeah, I've been
there's
noticing as well.
definitely quality issues right now.
Okay,
Maybe we
yeah, it's
should
probably just
wrap
Discord.
it up. Or...
Wrap it up. We're
Yeah.
on B, baby.
Oh, we're on B?
No, we're not really going anywhere. We have been talking a lot about characters, but I mean,
Oh, yeah, my bad.
I think it looks like it may have been
We
on
lost
Jonsey end.
Jonsey.
Yeah,
So
he DC'd, but if he jumps back in, that's fine. If not, you are now both on my screen, half Los and half Josh. Yeah.
Yay, Josh! Yeah.
Oh my god. He's here, he's there. Yeah, Ian, what did you
Carlo.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah,
Really
so
good.
I want to say that one of the highest score I gave was on authorial voice, and I didn't really want to talk about this because I felt like it gave too much away from the book. But one thing I consistently mention through our different part reviews, and I really do want to say this because I feel like you kind of mentioned, it is very easy to take a critique and be like, oh my gosh, I think this book is terrible. But I think that there is a lot of potential with Christopher Ruoccio's writing and with the stories developing. But one of the things I think, I mean, Hadrian is an annoying character a lot of the time. But I do really love the fact that there's this continuous cycle. Then they even kind of brought it up in the book about how the harder you try to avoid something, it just seems like it always makes you come back to that spot. And that was delivered by Valka. And it's like a Stavrosi saying, basically. But I love this idea that it's like he wrestles against his father's will more and more and more. He just keeps coming back to those exact same elements that he has been trying to avoid. So he walks away from the Colosso, because he abhors the bloodshed, but then he finds himself fighting as a Myrmidon, and that becomes extremely valuable skill for him because that's ultimately what allows him to face it off against the Cielsen. He has this whole argument which embarrasses his father about how the Cielsen aren't technically cannibals, even though they actually are, and about how we don't know enough about them. But then he ends up, participating in the torture and murder of Cielsen. He specifically tries to get away from his dad because he doesn't want to go to the Chantry, because he doesn't want to be torturing or carrying out their will, and then he finds himself participating in that very torture of the Cielsen. So it's just I love this kind of part of him of like he's trying to not do his father's will, but he's like becoming more and more like his father and becoming more and more of what his father envisioned for him as he resists it. And so this kind of leads up this element of like, what will he become, right? At what point does Hadrian make this his own? At what point does he accept it and take it to his destiny, rather than rather take it to his destiny and his fate, rather than almost avoiding it constantly and almost guaranteeing it in a way. And I just think that does make the story very intriguing, and that gives me a lot of interest to see where his character goes, even if I don't necessarily love all the moments we have with him.
Yeah, I agree. I find his annoyance has purpose for sure. Yeah, I think part of it though for me, and then I want to say something positive too as well, because I think this is also my favorite or my highest scoring category. I think there was a little bit of Ruocchio trying to show his stuff with the purpley prose, to where he just was so dramatic. It's like, I'm okay with you being dramatic, but then you're gonna write a page and a half of like beautiful writing. It is beautiful writing, but like over something so nothing that it's like, I believe you can write really well, Ruocchio. Again, this is one of those the frame narrative thing. Is this what you would actually be writing, like a page and a half of Shakespearean dialogue because you stubbed your toe? I don't know. It more felt like to me he was just like, I can write really well. See, I'm like, yes, you can. So I don't know. I agree it has purpose. I like all the stuff you're saying though. I agree. I like the message for sure. I think the strength for me that I really loved about like the authorial voice or whatnot was, I really felt like I was along for the ride with Hadrian as far as discovery with the alien species specifically. Like, I felt like I was right there next to him, learning and making those epiphanies with him. And it felt natural for the storytelling as well. It wasn't like I was being taught, but all the characters in the story already know it, but they still need to teach me, the reader, so I know what's going on. It's like, no, there's a reason why he doesn't know it, but he also has a love of language, and we got to learn that, almost like learn a language with him, and learn like habits of alien species. And I think that's a credit to Ruocchio's writing and creativity for those species, that it makes me really excited for. I hope there's a lot more out there, and I'm excited to kind of discover them alongside Hadrian in like a natural way. So that was really the star of the book for me, was him. It's just how natural that felt. Damn.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The language stuff was really cool. I'm definitely kind of I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff, but it was really fun. And I think even I think a lot of us had mentioned those particular elements as well because I think I mentioned I can't remember if it was on one of our videos or if it was just outside of that, but I think like Josh, you had mentioned that as well, and I'm pretty sure we brought that up when we were talking with Los, and so a really cool element for sure.
It's a fine line with hard science for me, I think, because
Mhm.
I found that I've had success with, with hard science and not success with hard science, to where I could find myself bored if, it's like actual science of like doing math and you're explaining to me why you can solve this problem. But I think this does that, but in a way it sets him up as a character to where it feels natural that he is also discovering it. So I feel like I'm naturally going along with him. I think that's why it worked for me. Uh, yeah, I just thought it was
Mm.
like those were some of the most exciting parts of the book. Was like him, how excited he would get, because it's like I don't know, he truly cared about that kind of stuff, and like especially like during the interrogation with the C. Elson, of like just like the positive nods and stuff like that. It's just like it's so natural that and it makes sense why he'd pick up on it and letting us know, and then just the transition of him like then starting to use it and to his benefit by keeping it secret from the Chantry. It just like I just thought that all that was super cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have a question for you guys on this subject was it feels like we're kind of committed to the frame narrative. Do you guys feel that way too? And how do you feel about that overall? Like, do you want to hear less from future Hadrian, hear more from future Hadrian? Do you want to just kind of fade it? Do you want it to fade away? Like, what are you guys feeling so far on that style?
Mm. I don't know if you can go back. If you're
Hmm.
talking from Hadrian's point of view, I don't think you can go back to just, walking through with him. I think you have to kind of have that frame narrative kind of mind or whatever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But maybe if you're talking with other people, who knows? I don't know. This next book's not from his perspective, so we'll have a lot more.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, because I am excited to see a different writing style from Ruocchio, which I think, like Los, like you mentioned, I think that will be kind of a refreshing take for some of these novellas. Because I'm really curious, because I mean, a frame narrative is not that popular. It was at a time, but Ruocchio wrote this what in 29. When he write Empire of Silence? I mean, it was not that long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think frame narratives were a little more popular like in the late 20 like late 1900s, moving into the 2000s for sci-fi and things like that. And so it's certainly like 20, 30 years, 20 almost 40 years after its popularity has sort of dwindled. And I don't think that he handled it terribly. I think that there are, when it comes to character development, I think there's still room for a lot more character development, even with a frame narrative.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so, but I am really interested to see how Christopher Ruocchio will handle other, writing styles, because I think he is a good writer. And so I'm excited to see what else he has in store for us.
Yeah. Robin Hobb is another author that recently in the fantasy, she's got like a 16 book series that is also
Mm-hmm.
framed narrative. She
Mm-hmm.
handles it a little bit differently. Like I want to say the way, I've only read the first book, but I think it's like at the beginning of every chapter, there's almost like a little, I don't know what you call it, epigraph or something,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like them talking to us, and then it just goes into a story almost like a narrative.
Yeah.
But the character, the narrator doesn't butt in as much. It's just like we get a piece from them in the beginning of the chapter, then they tell us the story like they're telling us the story. So this is definitely unique in the sense of like he'll just butt in sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I'd like a little more just consistency with that, because it didn't happen that often, and when it did, it was just like randomly in the middle of a chapter. It would like have a break, specifically for like Valka and Basander, and maybe one or two other moments that I remember. And then other times just kind of like peppered in there a little bit. So maybe just a little more consistency, but I like it. I think it's an interesting narrative, but I agree with those. I think we're stuck in it
Mm-hmm.
Until the end. But
I
it's not
think
a
it'll
bad
be
thing for me.
interesting to see if as we go along, depending on where we're at in his life, does the narrative voice change in maturity level? Because I feel like feel like the way you were bringing up points earlier, Matt, like how does he, if he's explaining this, why are we not hearing details? It kind of feels like a reflection of his maturity level at that point and how he's feeling. So I'll be really curious to see how that changes throughout.
I think that's the biggest disconnect for me, is like when I think of like an autobiography of whatever, let's just say Ozzy Osbourne. He had one come out before, I think just after he, like posthumously, is it humously or posthumously? Anyways, whatever.
Yeah, it's the right word. I'm just so terrible at trying to pronounce that word.
Yeah. So like it'd be like me reading an autobiography by Ozzy Osbourne and him saying like, when I was 10, and then like him write to me as if he is trying to get in his own head when he was 10. It's like, no, you would just tell me what happened when you were 10. You wouldn't be like, mommy and daddy were they were my gods because that's all I knew. And like, no, you would just tell me the story. And
I stopped hanging out with Derek because he was a poopy head.
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of what's happening here in Empire of Silence, is like he's like matching his narration to what his maturity level would have been at that time, which is very strange to me. Like, I just don't know if he was like, I need to sit down and write. I need to tell this story. I'm gonna really get into my mind of what I felt then, but also write like that. I'm gonna write as if I were writing then, but then sometimes he writes, in a different maturity level. So I feel like it's just I do feel some disconnect there. But I think because of that, we will see it mature as Hadrian matures. I just don't know how natural that feels when I like actually step back and think about it. But I'm all right with it as long as we're maturing. Like, progress. Sorry, I knocked my headphone out. Okay.
The other thing I wanted to add, I know this is sort of jumping a little bit ahead, but we've obviously, Matt and I've been reading Book of Malaz, like Malaz and Book of the Fallen alongside this. One thing I do hope that we'll see, and this will kind of hopefully come along with side character development, but I would like to see other sort of like great stories along the way too. And I think we will get some of that from the novellas. But my hope is that it's not just basically one series to culminate in this like one epic event. I hope that we do get to see like monumentous moments along the way. And I think we will, since it has such a good reputation. But I think that is it, because of the fact that there really wasn't that in this book. I think that's ultimately what hurt my feelings score so much.
Hurt your feelings.
It hurt it hurt my feelings. It hurt my feelings a lot. I was really sensitive, Hadrian was being a poopy head, so. But like there just it wasn't that, and I kind of mentioned this in one of our when we were in one of our discussions, is like it would have been really cool if the Cielson that had been discovered in the Colosso, like I would have really liked to see more character development and then kind of like an epic showdown between him and Hadrian. I know we got one later, but even that, it felt maybe like a bit rushed. At least it did for me. As far as that climactic ending, I mean, it was still a cool scene, and ultimately I did really enjoy the last part. But something like that, like having this sort of moment to look back to be like, well, it was really defining in this really epic moment when Hadrian was now forced to kill the Cielson that he had just befriended, right? But we didn't get anything like that. So I hope that we had these other kind of moments of maybe it's battles, maybe it's diplomatic events, maybe it's escapes, maybe it's like strong character deaths. But I hope that we do get to see the sort of these heroic, sort of monumental events, momentous events throughout the series, and I think that we will. So I'm excited to see what those look like.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think big battles are very typically misses for me. Like I find myself, like if I think right now, obviously because of the frame narrative, and it's Hadrian's point of view. If Hadrian gets into a big ground battle, like the Myrmidons, right? Mm-hmm. I was never afraid of anything bad happening to Hadrian. And then because I had no connection to other characters at that point, I didn't really, care so much when, it was just like reading cool action. But I also feel like it wasn't prolonged. I didn't overstay its welcome here, and I hope that trend continues. Because we're going wide here. We're going out into space. There could be space battles. There could be planet, land, all kinds of battles. And if we do have those, I just hope they're not action for the sake of action. I hope there's consequence and I don't know. That's something I appreciate about Malazan. It's like it's handled in a very in such a way that like I love the action in Malazan, but I've read fantasy novels where I'm like, all right, I feel like I could skim through this 30-page battle because at the end of the day, it's just them like, cutting through fodder. Happened in the Devils. There's just, prolonged scenes of like our main characters just cutting through people we've never seen before, just like killing them all. And it's like, that's cool, but like 30 pages is a lot. It can be a lot for my taste at least. So I'm curious to see how he handles those bigger moments when they do come. I think you're right. I mean, I think that they're inevitable. Mm-hmm. But the action that in Empire Silence when it did happen, I thought was great. The gladiatorial battle, the worm. I loved the worm. That was awesome. And I hope aliens get scary. That's one thing I do wish. I would love to see it lean into like the scary side of the unknown. And that was like a good glimpse of it. Of like, I don't know. That part was like, I was like, oh shit. Like that's terrifying. You got bit and then like 3 seconds later, a worm the size of your arm came out of your neck. Like what's happening there? That's scary. And I love, I love Alien, the movie Alien, the horror blend of the unknown and species that they know how it works, but we don't. And that unknown, it makes it scary. So I'm excited to see more of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know about you guys, this might be a good time just to kind of also talk about like, Matt and I kind of done it in terms of, are there anything that you guys are hoping to see in the future for the series, Josh and Lois? And then, unless there's anything more that people want to add or talk about, we could kind of wrap it up after that. Or, what are you guys kind of looking forward to see in Sun Eater?
Well, I already kind of spoiled it a little bit, but I'm excited just to see different perspectives, and that really adds to the series as a whole. Just building up other characters other than Hadrian has really fleshed it out a lot more for me. So I'm really looking forward to hearing not only just from the new narrator or new perspective from this second book, but others as well. If it is, I'm not sure if it will continue that way but.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to. Just more characters, not being attached to them, but just the impact that they're going to have to his journey and the decisions that he's going to make. And yeah, just excited to continue to see the complexity that leads up to what he's shared with us as the end. And how do we get there? Why do we get there? And what are all the big, exciting or important moments for us to live through over the next several books before the conclusion?
Yeah. It's definitely ambitious.
10. Okay.
I was just say it's just an ambitious thing to do as an author of, it's my first book and my first series and I'm going to tell you the ending. And now, to be able to then pull that off and still make, to tell me the ending and then to make me love the ending, to me, it's going to be hard to pull off, but I appreciate him taking the chance. It was super ambitious and it sounds like, I don't know about the ending, but it sounds like the series as a whole up to, the final book just came out. So I don't think there's tons of opinions on it just yet, but I think up to that point, it's all positive, really, from what I hear. So it sounds like he mostly succeeded. So, yeah, I think it's just I respect that a lot because you could take an easy way, but he went for the whole shebang. But yeah, I think it was super ambitious.
I don't think that this is what we're gonna get, but it would be funny if it's just like 10 frame narratives from 10 different perspectives. Just
We never
just
see
every-
Adrian again. Adrian's out.
Oh gosh.
I can just see like a comedy sketch where it's just like all these frame narratives, and then it's just like all of a sudden it gets like meta, and they're just like, no, that guy is a liar. He wasn't even there. Okay.
It's just Empire Silence 10 times, but from different perspectives. So now we read the same book, but it's Valka's perspective. And then to top it all off, the finale, it's Old Crow.
It's just like,
He was significant after all.
Yeah, exactly. I think we probably could talk. It sounds like we're all kind of on the same board for pacing. Does anyone have anything they feel like they want to say about that? Or feeling? Usually when we go into the deeper discussions, mostly about what happens and characters. So we didn't really talk about too much about what happened, but I think it's, we've done that in our discussions. So I don't think we really
that's
need
what the detail is anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the only other thing that was on my mind that I thought was worth mentioning was, even though I mentioned that there's a lot of familiar tropes. I will say that even though there are familiar tropes, I am definitely a sucker for the idea of some mysterious alien species that has sort of been the progenitor for much of the world as we know it. And this sort of idea, this sort of compulsion of like wanting to go into the unknown to learn more about that. Like, I do find the quiet and the relics and the temples and the ruins and then what's been left behind and the connection to Celsius. Like, I do find that fundamentally interesting. I don't think anything about it so far is really novel, because I think it's a trope that it's just super common in a lot of sci-fi. But it's still a very interesting one, and I will say that it's maybe one of those that's harder to overuse. And I do like the way it's been placed, and I think it works really well for Hadrian's character as a motivator to continue to explore into the unknown. And I think that there is a degree to which taking the Cielsen isn't just about diplomacy. I think it's also about trying to get to know more about the Quiet, because he knows they're on pilgrimage to the ruins of the Quiet, which I think was fair to call it a temple, and I think that he knows that, and so I'm really excited to see what else we learn and what Christopher Ruocchio is going to do with this familiar trope.
Yeah, I think that's why they're called. That's why they're tropes. To me, like a trope, I don't think I'd ever ding a book for being tropey, as long as the execution is there. The hero's journey has been told umpteenth times, and like, if it's done well, I don't care. I think that's kind of what, like you're saying. I've not read Dune. I've seen Dune, but like, obviously I've seen Star Wars, and it helps make that connection to relate things like the High Matter sword. Sure, it's easy to be like, that's a lightsaber. But yeah, I don't know. I think his execution's pretty solid. I think that he handled everything really well. It doesn't just feel like it's derivative of anything. Again, speaking from someone that's not read a ton of sci-fi, so maybe it is, but yeah, I don't know. I think as long as he is kind of making it his own a little bit, I think that's kind of, you'll find that in fantasy too. There's just so many books that do the farm boy or whatever, and it's like, there are people out there who love tropes. It's like, oh yeah, give me a farm boy story. I love that. So it's like, kind of like what you're saying. It's like the unknown out there. Maybe it is kind of a cliche setup for sci-fi, but so that is a one that like maybe you don't ever get sick of, because it's how they do it. How creative are they with what is out there and how they handle it, and that's what makes it exciting. Is it's easy to get on board because you're familiar, but then they can kind of go off the rails a little bit. So yeah, I think its execution is there. Which again, leading into the authorial voice, I think that's why it was the highest score for me. I think he just kind of nailed that aspect, and where I dinged it was how well did he execute writing a first book in a big series. And I think there was some stumbling in that category of just like, he went almost a little too wide in the beginning. I wish it was a little more focused in, and then we can kind of broaden it as we go. But he's like, I'm going wide, and at the end of this book, we're going way wider. And it's just like we're never gonna get smaller. It doesn't feel like it's like this was the small. So it'll be interesting to see as he grows as a writer too. But it's like like I was saying, his prose is just, I think it's great. But sometimes I'm like, rein it in, bud. Rein it in. I know that you're great. I know that you're great. You know you're great. Rein in a little bit. But okay.
Yeah.
So
one more thing I wanted to touch on is that I do enjoy, and I'm excited to learn more about the political checks and balances and like what happened in the past about the cover-ups and stuff like that that the Chantry did, and I'm curious to see more of what the Empire actually allows, like the Emperor himself actually allows, and how much of it is, you know, the Chantry trying to kind of match that power or not, you know. So that dynamic is going to be curious for me to learn too, because I just like learning about the political part of the world building as well.
yeah, I agree.
And there's a lot of it that's still a mystery, which also makes it really fascinating. Like we don't really know that much about the Emperor, right?
Yeah, he might not be alive. He could just
he could be like a baby for all we know. Like if there's just a whole bunch of people ruling in his stead. Like I don't think we know that much. It's
That's true.
Yeah.
It's Christopher Walken again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do know that the viceroys meet with the Emperor a few times a year or something like that. But those are the only details, and I do think that, you know, people know, you know, the Emperor, and he lives a long time. That's all we really.
Right. Yeah, I'm super fascinated to learn more.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's direct descendant of Earth or something. It has some kind of correlation between, like, as far as the Chantry is concerned.
Golden Earth, whatever it is they refer to it, Golden Age of Earth or something.
Yeah, like literal. The Jesus figure is planet Earth. It's supposed to come back. Earth is supposed to come back.
I can't recall at the end of the book, has Hadrian's dad been like alerted of his new position and stuff he's going on? I thought there was a mention. Was there not a mention of it?
The only mention was like we find out
Count?
Mataro, like contacted him as soon as they captured Hadrian, and he was just like, he's disowned. He is no longer a Marlowe. He's out.
Okay. I couldn't remember because I was curious if going forward we're gonna have, like, you know, at the beginning of the book we had him barge into that session that he wasn't invited to, and his dad had to kind of handle it there. So I was curious. Yeah, he's disowned him, but like, how's that going to play politically going forward?
Yeah, because now we know Crispin is gonna be. He's the heir now. I mean, there's no one else. So at some point, Crispin's gonna take over for the dad, for Alistair. Is that going to be part of this series, or?
So it's like we had that barging in to the meeting or whatever it was, and I feel like the book ends with Hadrian basically barging into this like political atmosphere, so to speak. So I think that'll be another thing I'm looking forward to. Kind of my final thought on everything we've talked about. Yeah,
I'm excited to see. There's definitely a lot more questions than answers in this book. So I am excited to get some answers here and there. You know, I'm okay if they're drip fed to us or whatever you want to call it. I don't need everything right away, but I do hope. You know, I hope it's not everything. I hope we don't keep following the trend of like, oh, that's interesting, never hear it about again. You know, give me something to keep me going. But yeah, so I think if everyone's good with that, unless anyone else has anything to say, I think we did it. Emperor Silence is in the bag.
We did it.
We did it. So yeah, if you're here, thanks for being here and going on this journey with us. And I think we are going to be doing the Lesser Devil in one go.
I was trying to do a heart, and it turned into a circle.
That's all right.
It's a sun. It's a sun.
Sun either.
Praise the sun.
So yeah, we're gonna do Lesser Devil in one go.
Mhm.
So in a couple weeks from whenever you're watching this, if you are watching this, I think it'll probably come out on the 3rd or so. Probably be a couple weeks, and then taking a little break for the holidays and stuff, and then if we're all feeling good after Lesser Devil, we'll continue with Howling Dark. But yeah, expect a Lesser Devil discussion video in the next few weeks. But until then, I am Matt. We'll go clockwise. Matt? No, clockwise.
That's
You,
it,
Ian.
right?
Oh, we're going clockwise? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Josh.
Los.
Nice. We are. Goodbye.